In 2025, the world of true crime has been captivated by some truly shocking twists and turns. From a stunning plea deal in a case that horrified the nation to a verdict that split a community down the middle, we're covering the headlines you need to know about. We'll look at everything from high-profile murder trials to the unsolved mysteries that continue to haunt investigators. These are the cases that everyone is talking about right now. This is the latest updates in true crime, the shocking cases you should know. The Idaho student murders, a guilty plea, and a life sentence. First, the case that shattered a small university town and left the nation breathless in a shocking turn of events. The man accused of the brutal 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students has admitted his guilt. For anyone who isn't familiar with this heartbreaking story, in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, 4 bright, promising students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Sana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were stabbed to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. The sheer brutality of the crime, combined with the initial lack of a suspect, sent a shockwave of fear through the community. For weeks, it was a terrifying mystery with no clear motive or killer. Then 6 weeks later, authorities made an arrest that no one saw coming. Brian Koberger, a 29-year-old PhD student in criminology at a neighboring university. The idea that the suspect was studying the very field that tries to understand criminal behavior added a deeply chilling layer to an already horrific story. For nearly 2 years, Koberger maintained his innocence, and his trial was scheduled to begin in August 2025. But in a stunning reversal in July 2025, he accepted a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, pleading guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. On July 23, 2025, he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without any possibility of parole. During the emotional sentencing, the 2 surviving roommates spoke publicly for the first time, confronting the man who the judge said committed unspeakable evil. Even with a conviction secured, the public is left with the one haunting question the trial was supposed to answer: why? The plea deal means we may never hear the motive in a courtroom, leaving the victims' families and a horrified public to grapple with the senselessness of it all. The Karen Red verdict. A community divided. As one case comes to a close, another has delivered a bombshell verdict that has left a town and much of the country fiercely divided. The trial of Karen Red, who was accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, has been a roller coaster of conspiracy theories, allegations of a cover-up, and a legal battle that often felt like a public spectacle. The story began on a snowy night in January 2022. Karen Red said she dropped her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, off at a house party hosted by another Boston officer. The next morning, O'Keefe was found dead in the snow outside the home. Prosecutors argued a simple, tragic story. Red, while intoxicated, hit O'Keefe with her SUV and left him to die in the cold. They pointed to pieces of a broken taillight at the scene as proof, but the defense told a much darker story. They argued O'Keefe was never hit by a car, but was beaten inside the house, attacked by a dog, and then dragged outside by the very people he considered friends. They alleged a massive cover-up by law enforcement to protect their own, claiming investigators zeroed in on Red simply because she was a convenient outsider. The first trial ended in a hung jury in July 2024. After a second, equally heated trial, a jury finally reached a verdict in June 2025. Karen Red was found not guilty of second-degree murder and the other major charges. She was, however, convicted on a lesser charge of operating under the influence. The verdict was a shock. Red supporters, who had camped outside the courthouse for days, erupted in cheers. But for John O'Keefe's family, it was a devastating outcome. The case has become a lightning rod for controversy, showing just how much public opinion and a deep distrust of institutions can shape a story, leaving behind a fractured community with more questions than answers. The Lori Vallow saga. The Doomsday Mom faces final judgment. While the Reed case raises questions about our justice system, our next case explores a world of twisted beliefs, dark conspiracies, and a trail of death, almost too shocking to be real. Lori Vallow, the so-called Doomsday Mom, is a name tied to one of the most disturbing true crime stories of the last decade. And in 2025, her story finally reached its conclusion in Arizona. Lori Vallow was already serving multiple life sentences in Idaho for the 2019 murders of her two youngest children, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old J.J. Vallow, and for conspiring to kill her fifth husband Chad Daybell's former wife, Tammy Daybell. The investigation uncovered a horrifying web of extremist religious beliefs, where Lori and Chad allegedly claimed their victims had become zombies that needed to be eliminated before the apocalypse. But the body count didn't stop there. Vallow was extradited to Arizona to face 2 more conspiracy charges, one for the murder of her fourth husband Charles Vallow, and another for the attempted murder of her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. After a trial that was pushed into 2025, Vallow was found guilty in both cases. On July 25, 2025, she was sentenced to 2 additional life sentences. During the sentencing, Vallow gave a statement to the court, continuing to speak of her faith and proclaim her innocence, further highlighting the deep delusions that have left such a devastating wake of destruction. These cases show just how quickly people's lives can be destroyed, and how the search for justice can take years. Coming up, we'll look at a brand new, baffling disappearance and revisit the landmark case that changed how we search for missing children. But first, take a moment to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the cases that matter. The unsolved disappearance of Jeremiah Moneta. From the convicted to the missing, we now turn to a case shrouded in mystery. In the world of true crime, there's nothing more haunting than a person who simply vanishes. In January 2025, a young man named Jeremiah Demetrius Moneta did just that, and his case is a tough reminder that these tragedies happen all the time, often away from the national spotlight. Jeremiah, only 22, had just moved to Ponca City, Oklahoma, to start a new chapter. He was last officially seen on January 15, 2025. His family last heard from him 2 days later, and after they couldn't get in touch, they searched on their own for 2 days before reporting him missing on January 20th. The details here are both limited and deeply strange. Jeremiah was 5'7", weighed about 130 pounds, and mostly used a bike to get around. There were no signs of a struggle at his apartment. His bank account hasn't been touched, but what makes this case so weird is how his personal items started turning up in random places. Some of his belongings were found on North Union Street in Ponca City. More disturbingly, his cell phone was found with another person, and his vital asthma inhaler, which his family says he would never ever leave behind, was discovered on a total stranger's porch. His desperate family has organized extensive searches through creeks, lakes, and fields, but there's been no sign of Jeremiah. Law enforcement searched an area near White Eagle after a tip, but it led nowhere. His mother, Jamie Hansen, has been fighting tirelessly to keep his name in the news, even organizing a candlelight vigil to raise awareness and reward money. She's expressed frustration, saying that when she reached out to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation for help, she was told the local police had to request their assistance first. Months after he was last seen, the case of Jeremiah Moneta has gone cold. There are no solid leads, and his family is trapped in an agonizing limbo, clinging to hope while fearing the worst. His disappearance is a puzzle with too many missing pieces, a fresh wound in the world of unsolved cases. The enduring mystery of Amber Hagerman. While the search for Jeremiah is just beginning, some quests for answers have stretched on for decades. But thanks to new technology, even the oldest cases are never truly cold. Our final update is on a case so powerful it forever changed how we respond to child abductions: the murder of Amber Hagerman. On January 13, 1996, 9-year-old Amber was riding her pink bicycle in a grocery store parking lot in Arlington, Texas. A witness saw a man leap from a black pickup truck, grab the screaming child, and speed off. It was a terrifying abduction in broad daylight. 4 days later, Amber's body was found in a creek. Her throat had been cut. Her killer has never been found. The horror of her murder inspired a local radio station and the community to create a rapid alert system to notify the public when a child is abducted. That system, born from an unimaginable tragedy, became the Amber Alert. It has since been adopted nationwide and is credited with the safe recovery of over 1,000 children. As Amber's mother has said, because of this system, her daughter did not die in vain. But the tragic irony is that the very case that inspired this life-saving tool is still unsolved. For nearly 3 decades, investigators have followed thousands of leads. They have DNA evidence collected from Amber's body. But for years, it wasn't enough to identify a suspect. Now, with huge advancements in forensic science, especially genetic genealogy, there is new hope. Police plan to resubmit the evidence for advanced testing, confident that this case can and will be solved. They believe someone out there knows what happened. As of 2025, there's been no public announcement of a match or an arrest. The DNA is the best, and maybe the last, hope for justice. The case of Amber Hagerman is a powerful, heartbreaking story, a testament to a community's grief being turned into action, but also a haunting reminder that for one family, the wait for justice never ends, even as their daughter's legacy saves the lives of others. These cases are more than just headlines. They're stories of unimaginable loss, baffling mysteries, and a relentless fight for truth. From a shocking confession that brought a small measure of closure to a verdict that raised more questions than it answered, the pursuit of justice is a long and difficult road. For the families left behind and the investigators who won't give up, that fight never truly ends. Which of these cases are you following the closest? Are there any other recent developments you think we should cover? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay on top of the latest true crime cases, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll see you next time.